Scams affect all Americans, but seniors are more susceptible to them and often are so embarrassed that they're unwilling to admit to authorities or their loved ones that they've been ripped off. As executive director of the Helps nonprofit law firm, Eric Olsen has tried to help thousands of scam victims in his career. Seniors not only lose money in these scams, but their own self-esteem. Hi, I'm Jeff Hoyt, editor-in-chief of SeniorLiving.Org. In this video, attorney Eric Olsen explains why seniors get targeted, lists the most common types of scams, shares his top 5 tips to help seniors avoid being scammed, and reveals how his firm could help you if you suspect that a scammer is preying on you. We hope you'll watch this video and reach out to Eric before it's too late. Hey, it's Jeff Hoyt, editor-in-chief of SeniorLiving.Org. Today, once again, I have the pleasure of speaking with Eric Olsen. Eric's an attorney. He's the founder and runs the Helps nonprofit law firm. So, Eric, I guess you have the misfortune of talking to lots of people who have been scammed.
I do, Jeff. We were just talking. I don't think there's anyone in the country that talks to more seniors that have been scammed than me. I mean, just because of the nature of Helps working with seniors that are lower income, having financial problems, I talk to seniors all the time that have been scammed.
Well, they're coming to you after the fact. So today you have a chance to get to seniors before they're scammed and sort of give them some warning signs, some tips on how to avoid being scammed. So before we get to the tips, though, are seniors more susceptible than younger people?
National Council on Aging published an article, I think last year, and explained why seniors are often the #1 targets of scammers. One is they have money. A lot of seniors have money. There might be a perception that they might be more susceptible to being scammed because of age. And so they are more vulnerable. And they listed the 5 most common scams: government impersonation, sweepstakes or lottery, you won something, call out a robocall or phone calls, and then tech support problem with your computer. You need to pay this to do this. And then the old reliable, your grandkids in jail, grandparent scam. Grandparents love to hate their grandkids, love to help their grandkids, and scammers know that.
Yeah, well, I've been hit up with at least 4 of those. I haven't been hit up with a grandparent scam, but the other 4 are definitely I've been attempted scams, we put it that way. So,
Yeah.
So what can we tell seniors, and I'm sure other people can benefit as well, but what can we tell seniors? What's like a good tip to start with to help them to avoid being scammed?
You know, you can tell seniors about the different types of scams, but I think I'll tackle this by telling you my #1 tip is, if you're contacted and someone tries to make you scared, if they try to have you fear, very likely you're being scammed. Okay, that's a common technique. There's different types of scams. One is having a senior be scared. Maybe a phone call or email saying you're going to be sued and all this terrible things are going to happen. You're going to go to jail. They try to intimidate people and scare them. There's all different kinds of ways. Maybe someone calls and says, "I'm going to be serving papers on you. When are you going to be home?" Or someone said, "We're a debt mediation company. We want to help you solve this debt problem." And all of a sudden you're "Oh no, well, I didn't know this," or a threat of criminal action. So, or some IRS supposedly calling. The IRS never calls people. But, if you got a call from the IRS, you didn't know that, you think, "Oh no, I'm in trouble. I might, they want to make you scared." But anyway, yeah, those are getting someone to be scared if you're scared, if someone contacts you and you're scared, you may not need to be scared. They may be attempting to scam you.
Right. And just to be clear, you may get a call from a friend that their spouse is in the hospital, whatever. If it's someone you know, that's one thing. Sometimes people do call and give you bad news. Sometimes emails have bad news in them that can scare you. But if it's a stranger calling, like you mentioned, the grandparent scam, and says, "Hey, your grandson is in jail," or "He was in an auto accident," you know who you're talking to. Anyone can say they're Officer Smith. It doesn't mean they're really a policeman or government agency or the IRS.
I had a friend got grandparent scam, and it was her grandson who called, but it wasn't really her grandson, but she thought it was. Grandma, can you help me get out of jail? And it wasn't her grandson. She thought it was.
I'm so used to talking to my own kids in person. Like when I hear them on the phone, it's hard for me sometimes to know.
Yeah.
So, and then you mentioned this computer tech scam. What's that about?
So I put this into the fear category, and we all get that. If you're on the computer, sometimes you'll type something in, and all of a sudden there'll be a little notice that says, you know, a warning pops up on your computer. You got a problem. You need to call this number. Blah 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 blah. That you're going to get a virus or something like that. So those are scams. Those are scams. You don't want to call that number. You don't want to give them any personal information. You can just close the computer, close it down, and just reopen it, and that'll go away. Sometimes seniors will get scam for tech support. Okay, and if they make that call and they call someone and they say, well, you know, you got a problem with this computer, you know, we can help you, and then they might try to get you to pay them money. What's really bad is my tech guy for helps. He can get on my computer in about 2 seconds. If I give him the code, he can get right on. And a guy could get on your computer. Once he's on your computer, he can get any information off of that. So you don't want to get anyone to ever have access to your computer. So yeah, a tech scam can be dangerous, and you don't want to get involved with it. Keep away from it. You know, don't talk to these guys.
All right. The scams that I've seen is when you get on some website and something starts flashing, tells you to call a phone number, which Microsoft is never going to ask you to call them. Doesn't work that way. And also, I get 2 or 3 emails a week from a well-known tech group, national tech group, saying, "Hey, we just charged you for 5 years of service." And I guess the scam is I'm supposed to call and dispute it and give them my credit card number. But
So what's the tech? Who do you get it from?
Geek Squad, Best Buy.
I got the same thing.
Yeah,
That's
sure
a
millions of
common
them.
one.
Yeah,
What
millions.
what they'll say is they'll say, we're going to charge your card $400 unless you call us. So all of a sudden you see, oh man, I don't want $400 charged on my card. I better call them. And then that's a scam. It's a scam. They get you worried.
And you know, and I know it's a scam, but other people getting this something with an official Geek Squad logo on it, you know, they may think, uh-oh, I better call them up, and they're just getting themselves in trouble.
That's why we're having this conversation.
Exactly. So let's move on to another tip. So we've taken care of fear. What other advice do you have? What other tip can people benefit from to avoid being scammed?
Telephone calls out of the blue. Okay. They can come from someone, and it could be any different type of phone call. You won the lottery. You won the Irish sweepstakes. It could be anything. I mean, got to remember now, how do you know if it's a scammer? Well, talk about it, the last clue, but if the phone rings and you pick it up and no one, you say hello and no one answers, and all of a sudden you hear a little kind of a click, and then someone starts talking. That's a robocall. They call these numbers and they don't push the button until someone picks up on the other side. So that's a hint. Now, if the person you're talking to has a heavy accent, yeah, you got to be aware. A lot of scams, probably the majority of them, originate overseas. Maybe they want you to confirm your personal information. Well, you've won this, you got to confirm your personal information. Well, what do you want? Well, we need this, that, or the other thing. And a lot of times what they'll do is they'll groom someone. They'll call them a couple times, and you'll spend time with them. So they try to develop your trust. But the whole goal is to eventually scam you and get you to send them money.
So is there a way to tell if you do get a phone call that if it's legitimate or not?
Someone called me and they said this, that, and the other thing. And they'll say, well, what's the number? And then Yeah, I can take the number, I put a quote around it, and then put it on the computer, Google. You got to put quote around it. And if it's a legitimate, they'll pop up with a website or something that shows that that company is it's really a good number. But if there's nothing there, no, there won't be anything there about it. Or you could type in the phone number and put ripoff or scam. And there's actually websites that try to save phone numbers. People share phone numbers to let them know if this is a call is from a scammer. So you can do that.
Some scammers can spoof a phone number so that it looks like it's coming from a legitimate business, even when it isn't, correct?
Yeah, they can do that. So there's nothing wrong with, if you want to check people out, you can. My tendency is say, if you suspect anything like I'm talking about today, just hang up on them. They want to engage with you.
It's like if I get a phone call saying, hey, it's your credit card company calling, I can hang up and just call the number on the back of my card. That way I know I'm legitimately calling Visa or American Express or whomever, as opposed to a random call out of the blue at someone pretending to be my credit card.
Good point.
Provider.
Yeah, you can do that. Absolutely.
And what if they have information about you, like your birthday or your social security number or something? Does that mean they're legitimate?
No. Why is that? All you have to do is check the news all the time. They'll say, in fact, I got a warning the other day on email from, I think it's a website called Watch Out for Mom or something like that. Or that apparently I had gone on their website and made a comment and it said, hey, we've been hacked. Be careful. Your information might have been, so the credit bureaus have all been hacked. There's a lot of websites that have been, people were put their you've been hacked. I guarantee you, your personal information is out there. And there's a thing called the dark web. Okay. It's not the normal internet where personal information of people is kept. And so just because they might have personal information about you doesn't mean they're legit.
And so we're talking about tip 2 about looking out for phone calls out of the blue. What about a tip for emails? You get an email then.
Yeah, well, that would be the same thing. That tip number 3 is you get an email out of the blue. You can read it, check the spelling. Often the spelling's wrong. That's poor design. Now, why is the spelling wrong? Well, because it came from overseas. If it's from a company, you can look at their reviews, see if they've got a website like I've talked about. The internet, one good thing about the internet is you could check someone out pretty easily or check a company out. You can put a name of a company and put review, or name of a company and put ripoff or scam, and that'll tell you all about that company. But if you get an email from someone, if it's something that makes you scared, you're probably being scammed. And if it's some really good news, like you won something, probably being scammed.
So tip number 4, we talked about fear before. What other motivators are there besides fear?
If it sounds too good to be true, it very well may not be true. You've won the Irish sweepstakes. You won the steeplechase. Publishers clearinghouse scam. I had a helps client a year ago, lost $40,000 because he won the published clearinghouse. Yeah. Okay, what they did was, you won it, but we need money for the taxes. And they had him totally convinced. He was an older gentleman, and they ripped him off for a whole lot of money. Not too long ago, guy got scammed because if you put this logo on the side of your car, we're going to pay $1,500 a month. And they actually sent him a check for $1,500, a cashier's check. Okay, well, he cashed it, and then they called him back and said, to get that logo, we're going to need $1,000 to buy that logo, and so send us $1,000. So he sends him $1,000, and then lo and behold, the cashier's check wasn't any good, and he's out the $1,000. Okay, it was a total ripoff. Cashier's checks aren't always good. They can be falsified, or it's not a guarantee. So yeah, if it's too good to be true, be careful. Yeah, I guess I had some other things too. I put the romance scam under the too big good to be true. Okay. That's the worst scam, in my opinion, that can happen. Seniors that are single need to be very careful. I've seen seniors lose their life savings through a romance scam, hundreds of thousands of dollars, their home, their IRA, their retirement money. Got to be. I mean, if you're in a romance scam, and if you're in a romance, in other words, on the internet, they start asking for money, I would bet 99.99% it's a scam. Unfortunately, a lot of these romance scams originate from Nigeria. So if the person has an accent, watch out. People get lonely, and they can be so desperate for love that they can get hooked. And it's sad. So be aware, or if you're a senior, be aware this is a nasty scam. It's because it's so personal and a lot of money is involved. It's really bad.
And that brings us to the fifth tip, which is people who are just want your money.
The whole purpose of the scam, Jeff, is that they're trying to get your money. Okay. And if they first talk to you, they're not going to say, hey, I want your money. They have a story, or they have something to lead up to getting you to get your money, to give you a reason. And there may be several phone calls. They have a whole list of people they're working on. They spend all day doing it. But if you're talking to someone and they want you to go buy a debit card from Target, scam, or from anywhere.
Just to sum up, though, so our 5 tips, you talked about being scared, people using fear when they reach out to you, a phone call out of the blue, an email out of the blue that says, hey, get back to us, or we're going to charge you money, get back to us, or something horrible is going to happen. Just starting the conversation, because it doesn't really cost anything. Send a million emails, and if 10 people answer, those are 10 people you might be able to scam. Of course, if it sounds too good to be true, you should avoid it. And finally, the 5th one is just anybody who you don't know who wants your money. Odds are that they want your money, but they may not really care about you at all, just what's in your pocketbook.
Here's a bonus tip. If you think you're being scammed, anyone can call helps, and we'll talk to you.
Well, that's great, because some people would be too embarrassed to call their children who are, worried about them.
Right.
But if they call you, and how would they get a hold of you? What's the number?
855-435-7787. 855 helps us, or helps US. Yeah, what we do is we protect seniors from collector harassment, and then we educate seniors how to maintain their financial independence. And helping seniors avoid being scammed is one of the things we want to do.
Well, great. We promised you 5 tips, and here's a bonus 6th tip. Thank you very much, Eric. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.